going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Burning Hammer podcast. I'm your host, Mark Izzo, and today I am riding solo. Dylan is out of state for some business, which we are not going to get into, but what we are going to get into is WWE Summerslam. And I am going to do something new for this episode, and if it goes well, I'm going to do it more often outside of just as an episode of the podcast. This is going to be a retro wrestling review. Basically, what it's going to be is we are going to go back and watch wrestling matches. We're going to watch some really good wrestling matches, and we are going to review them. And so basically, in honor of SummerSlam being the next premium live event, I wanted to rewatch a SummerSlam match, and I wanted to rewatch one of my personal favorite SummerSlam matches, one of the better SummerSlam matches of the past 10 years. So before we get into that, the best way to stay up to date with when we release new episodes of the Burning Hammer podcast is to follow us on social media. On Twitter, we are at The Burnt Hammer. On Twitch, we are at The Burning Hammer podcast. And we are at The Burning Hammer on everything else, including Threads. The Burning Hammer podcast is on Threads at The Burning Hammer, so make sure to follow us on there as well. And if you are listening, make sure to follow and subscribe. The Burning Hammer podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And make sure to leave us a review. And you can watch the podcast on YouTube at The Burning Hammer. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That stuff really does go a long way. Plus, on our YouTube, we do more than just the podcast. We've been releasing a ton of videos. If you want to see something that I think WWE needs to bring back, click the link in the upper corner. With that being said, let's dive in to WWE SummerSlam. So I rewatched John Cena versus AJ Styles in 2016 at SummerSlam. So let's get into some background information before we dive into the actual match. This is the second time John Cena and AJ Styles have ever faced each other. AJ picked up a victory over Cena at Money in the Bank a month prior to SummerSlam, and this SummerSlam was at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, and on the call was Mauro Ranalli, JBL, and David Otunga. And this was recently after AJ Styles made his WWE debut at the Royal Rumble in January of 2016, and this was when he was a heel. SmackDown was the house that AJ Styles built. So with AJ portraying more of a heel, I think it really suited him coming into WWE, especially at a time when he was facing John Cena. However, you could make the argument with this match that AJ Styles wasn't even really the heel, because this was the peak of the John Cena sucks chants. The crowd was so split on John Cena. Half of them were booing him, half of them were cheering him. They had that classic John Cena sucks chant going on during his entrance. And I think they did a really good job with the video package. They always do a good job with the video packages prior to the match, but this one really helped make this match feel like a big deal. And before we get into the actual match, I just wanted to say how much I miss Mauro Ranalli in WWE calling professional wrestling matches. I mean, I wish he could get back to like AEW or WWE, but it doesn't seem like that's anything that's going to happen. I think we need to just cherish these shows that Mauro called, because the dude is on another level. You can tell his passion for the sport was always there with everything that he was doing in WWE, and especially when he was calling matches. So I just want to say I really missed Mauro Ranalli calling wrestling matches. And the crowd was really hot for this match going into it. You can always tell how much a crowd is into it because they had a lot of chants going before the match actually started. The bell rang and Cena and AJ were sizing each other up, and the crowd was just going absolutely nuts. Half of them were rooting for Cena, the other half were rooting for AJ. And so to kick off the match started pretty evenly, and it didn't take long for Cena to sort of get the better of AJ Styles and go on the offense for a while. But I would say throughout the entire match, the whole thing felt pretty even. It didn't feel like anyone was really dominating the entire match. Whenever someone got a few moves on offense in, the other person would just reverse a move and then they would go on offense for a little bit. But the majority of this match, it was very, very even. And I think they did a good job with that because you have someone like AJ Styles, who is probably the greatest non-WWE wrestler of all time, taking on someone like John Cena, who is the greatest WWE wrestler of all time, and especially with AJ just making his debut recently in WWE, and you can't just have a guy like that and just try to build him up. I think WWE did a really good job with AJ of just immediately inserting him into the company and immediately portraying him as a big deal. And they did that with A, debuting him at the Royal Rumble, and then B, having him beat John Cena at Money in the Bank a month prior to SummerSlam. Although he did have some help in the Good Brothers, I think giving him that win was essential to AJ Styles' career. And overall, I think this match was fantastic. It was a good pace because both of these men were older at the time, especially John Cena. And I think that you can't have a match constantly going at 100 miles per hour. And I think they did a good job at pacing themselves throughout this match as well. And I think that this is definitely a match where that was needed. You know, you can't have AJ Styles versus John Cena and having them just go, 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 go. Like, it's not going to work. Like, they took their time. Every move was planned. Every move was calculated. And I think that really plays into these two guys being veterans of the sport because they were sizing each other up. They were being super calculated. They knew what moves they wanted to hit. They knew when to hit them. They knew how to get out of moves. They knew a lot of stuff, and I think WWE did a really good job at portraying that throughout the match with just how even it was and the pace being a slower pace. And I think both men and the match as a whole really benefited from that. And this was a time where John Cena was starting to break out some new moves every once in a while. I think that's something that really stood out to me throughout the match. Cena was hitting a few different moves. He hit a tornado DDT. He hit a code red. He hit a drop kick. Although it wasn't that great, he still hit a drop kick. And he ate almost a brain buster on the apron, which is the hardest part of the ring. So to see Cena go out there and really just give it his all, really do moves that he hasn't really done before, it goes to show that during this time, he was trying to progress his skills with the crowd getting unhappy with him. He tried to do some different moves. He tried to reinvent himself a little bit. He tried to do some new things. And so you really just have to appreciate that with John Cena. Although the thing I didn't really enjoy about this match, and this is pretty much just, I don't know if it's like a pet peeve. I'm sure a lot of people probably agree with the fact that finishers aren't really protected that much. Like AJ Styles hit the phenomenal forearm. Cena kicked out. AJ Styles kicked out of the AA. He kicked out of an avalanche AA. John Cena kicked out or escaped the calf crusher. And I understand when you have two guys that are on the level that these guys are on to kick out of their finishers, but I think that they should have protected their finishers a bit more. Like Cena just hit his AA out of nowhere, and then AJ kicked out. AJ just hit his phenomenal forearm. Cena kicked out. Like, and I understand that thing can happen in certain circumstances, but I don't think they were at that point in the match where they could really start kicking out of finishers like that. But regardless, the match was pretty damn good. I got goosebumps watching it just to see how much the crowd was behind AJ Styles, and this crowd was absolutely hot this night, man. They could not stop cheering, and wrestling's so much better when you have a really good crowd. It just makes everything better. So I think that this was a pretty good match. Like, I don't know where it would rank all time on the SummerSlam level. Like, in-ring skills, it definitely won't blow you away, but I think the match was exactly what it needed to be. It had a good pace. It had a big match feel. AJ Styles went over on John Cena, which I think was crucial for him at the time. He did it by himself without any help. So I think this was definitely one of the better SummerSlam matches that I have seen, at least. And I think it's probably one of the better ones over the past 10 years. All time, I'm not sure. It's probably maybe a top 10 all-time SummerSlam match, maybe more towards the bottom part of that list. But if you are trying to get in the mood for SummerSlam, you should definitely watch this match. AJ Styles versus John Cena at SummerSlam in 2016. It was an absolute blast to watch. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the podcast, for this episode of Retro Wrestling Reviews. I was trying to get an episode out for you guys this week because we've been pretty busy lately, me and Dylan, and we haven't been able to record consistently over these past couple of weeks, so I wanted to get something out to you. But again, make sure to follow us on all of our stuff because we are posting content. We're posting content exclusively to our social medias, and I just did a SummerSlam early match card prediction video on our social media, so you can view that on Twitter at The Burnt Hammer, or you can view it on any of our other social medias at The Burning Hammer, and make sure to follow us on Twitch at The Burning Hammer Podcast. If you're listening to this via audio streaming service, make sure to follow and subscribe and leave us a review. It really goes a long way, and you can listen to it on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast, or you can watch it on YouTube at The Burning Hammer. If you are, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because we are dishing out more content that is outside of the podcast, more opinion-based things, fantasy booking, that sort of thing. So make sure to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of the wrestling content that your brain can handle. With that being said, let me know if you like this sort of thing. I would like to do with Dylan also in the future, but drop a comment below wherever you're listening to it. Let us know on our social media. If you like retro wrestling reviews, let us know, and we will do them more often. With that being said, I'm Mark Izzo. This has been another episode of the Burning Hammer Podcast. We'll catch you next Thursday.